Imagine a life where you're told you're sick, but you're not. A life woven with lies, deceit, and a shocking twist. This is the enigma of Gypsy Rose, a girl trapped in a world of illusions, masterminded by the person she trusted the most, her mother. A world where her every step was shadowed by the phantom of an illness, a world where her identity was etched with the indelible ink of deception. A seemingly tragic life, riddled with countless medical procedures, endless hospital visits, and the constant hum of a wheelchair. Yet the truth was far from what met the eye. The twists and turns of Gypsy's life story would leave anyone astounded, bewildered, questioning the very nature of a mother's love. A tale of manipulation, control, and the desperate need for freedom. But beneath the surface of this seemingly tragic life, a chilling story unfolds. Born in 1991, Gypsy Rose entered a world not of nurturing love, but of well-crafted deception. This innocent child was thrust into a life of falsehoods and fabrications, nurtured by her mother's intricate tales of illness and disability. The seeds of deception were sown early, with Gypsy's mother claiming her daughter suffered from a myriad of medical conditions, ranging from leukemia to muscular dystrophy and even cerebral palsy. Imagine a childhood marked not by playground laughter and first day of school jitters, but by hospital visits, medical tests, and a wheelchair that served as a constant reminder of a sickness that didn't exist. Gypsy was made to believe she was critically ill, her mother's words painting a picture of a life bound by disability. Every day, her world was defined by the limitations her mother imposed on her, limitations that were as imaginary as the illnesses they were tied to. Gypsy's early life was a carefully constructed illusion, each piece adding to the narrative of a gravely ill child. But this was far from the truth. The doctor's visits, the surgeries, the medicine, all were part of a grand deception. A deception so deeply ingrained in Gypsy's life that it became her reality. What makes this story even more tragic is the fact that Gypsy was, in all actuality, a healthy child. She was forced to live a lie that was woven so meticulously by her mother that it was almost impossible to see the threads of truth. Her childhood was stolen from her, replaced by a narrative of sickness and suffering. This is the story of a child born into an elaborate lie, a child who was made to believe she was something she was not. A tale of innocence exploited and a life overshadowed by deception. It's a heartbreaking example of the lengths one woman went to in order to keep up appearances, at the expense of her own child's well-being. Little did young Gypsy know she was perfectly healthy, trapped in a twisted web of her mother's lies. As Gypsy Rose grew, so did her suspicion. The truth, as it often does, began to seep through the cracks. As a child, Gypsy Rose was raised in a world of deception, an intricate web spun by her mother. But as she grew, she began to perceive the world beyond the confines of her mother's narrative. The inconsistencies in her health and the stark contrast between her mother's depiction of her condition and her own experiences planted seeds of doubt. Gypsy Rose's journey towards the truth was a treacherous one. She began to question the myriad of illnesses her mother claimed she had. She found herself wondering why she could walk when she was told she was paralyzed, why she didn't feel sick despite the countless medications she was made to consume. Her attempts to escape were futile at first. Her mother's control was suffocating, a vice-like grip on her life that was relentless. Her first efforts to break free were met with harsh punishment, further tightening the chains of control. But Gypsy Rose was determined. She sought answers, digging deeper into the labyrinth of lies she was trapped in. She turned to the internet, a window to the world outside her prison-like home. Here she found allies, people willing to help her uncover the truth. The more she discovered, the more she realized the depth of her mother's deception. Yet, the truth was a double-edged sword. While it offered liberation, it also revealed the horrifying reality of her existence. She was not a sickly child, but a puppet in her mother's twisted game. Her life was not her own, but was dictated by her mother's whims. Cornered and desperate, Gypsy Rose was about to take a dark path, forever staining her innocent life. As the truth unraveled, so did the life she once knew. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger, but it was a path she had to tread, for the sake of her freedom, for the sake of her truth. June 2015, a shocking discovery sends ripples across the nation. In the quiet town of Springfield, Missouri, a scene of unimaginable horror begins to unfold. The life of Dee Dee Blanchard, Gypsy Rose's mother, is abruptly ended in a brutal and shocking act of violence. Authorities are faced with a gruesome sight. The woman, who had been seen by many as a devoted and selfless mother, lies lifeless in her small house. The community is left reeling, unable to comprehend the horrifying act that has shattered their perception of this seemingly perfect mother-daughter relationship. As the investigation progresses, it becomes clear that this is not a random act of violence. The sinister truth begins to surface. Gypsy Rose, the frail and innocent child, is no longer just a victim. She emerges as a participant, a co-conspirator in the unthinkable act that ended her mother's life. While the world tries to grapple with this revelation, another character enters the stage. Gypsy's online boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, is revealed to be deeply involved. A seemingly harmless relationship, fostered in the virtual world, takes a drastic turn in the real one. Gypsy and Nicholas, bound by a perverse love, find themselves entwined in a plot filled with deceit, manipulation, and ultimately, murder. The role of Nicholas in this act is as chilling as it is critical. He becomes not just a participant, but the hand that wielded the fatal blow. The narrative turns on its head. The frail child, a prisoner in her own body, transforms into an accomplice in her mother's death. The mother, once seen as a beacon of selflessness, is revealed to be the architect of a life of deception and abuse. The boyfriend, an outsider in this twisted tale, is the final piece of the puzzle, the executor of the unthinkable act. A shocking act committed in the shadow of years of abuse and deception. As the curtain falls on this act, we are left with a chilling tale of manipulation, betrayal, and a desperate bid for freedom that ended in the most tragic of ways. In the aftermath, a mix of horror and sympathy swirled around the name Gypsy Rose. The dust had settled, the crime scene tape had been rolled up, but the shockwaves of this twisted tale were far from over. As the trial unfolded, the courtroom became a stage for a story stranger than fiction. Gypsy Rose, the once seemingly fragile girl, was now at the center of a narrative wrought with deception, manipulation, and ultimately, murder. The public watched, their emotions torn between the horror of the act committed and the sympathy for a life lived in an unimaginable lie. Gypsy's sentence came as a surprise to many. She was handed down a 10-year sentence for second-degree murder. The relatively lenient sentence reflected the court's understanding of her unique circumstances, yet it sparked a debate among the public. Some saw her as a victim, pushed to the brink by a life of abuse. Others viewed her as a calculated killer, who planned and executed a cold-blooded murder. The psychological impact of Gypsy's upbringing is an aspect we cannot overlook. Raised in a world of deceit, her reality was distorted from the start. Her mother's Munchausen by proxy syndrome forced her into an unending cycle of unnecessary medical procedures and treatments, robbing her of a normal childhood. The mental toll of such an environment is immeasurable. It shaped Gypsy into the person she became, the person who felt there was no other way out but through a desperate act of violence. In the end, Gypsy Rose became more than a name, more than a headline. She became a symbol of the dark side of human nature, of the lengths to which deception can lead, and the tragic consequences it can have. Her story serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of truth and the devastating effects of manipulation and control. Gypsy Rose, a name that now echoes as a chilling reminder of a life stolen and a desperate act of survival. In the tragic tale of Gypsy Rose, we find lessons of humanity, deception, and survival. Gypsy's life, though riddled with deceit, serves as a stark reminder of the importance of truth. She was born into a world of manipulation, a world where reality was distorted for the sake of sympathy and gain. The impact of such deceit is profound, creating a distorted perception of self and reality. Yet in the midst of this, Gypsy's story underscores the desperate lengths people can go to escape abuse. Her actions, however extreme, were born from a need for liberation, a yearning for a life free from the shackles of deception. Gypsy's life, while tragic, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It teaches us that even in the darkest of situations, the will to live and the desire for truth can guide us towards liberation. Gypsy Rose, a story of deception, survival, and a desperate plea for freedom. A tale that reminds us of the dark corners of humanity and the astonishing power of the will to live.